Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back. We're going to be working on the third section of our Chapter 9 questions and answers. Again, Saint Germain, Earth's Birth Changes, channeled through Azina Ramonda. So we have two more sections that we're going to read. So two more videos of just nothing but questions and answers in a variety of topics. So let's just go ahead and get started. All right, so the first one. Okay. Greetings. I wanted to ask you a question about the death process of the physical form. I've done a bit of study on the Tibetan teachings, and they outline quite a long process whereby the consciousness may leave the physical body over a period of 3 to even 7 days. Now, here in the West, when people pass away, we usually dispose of the body very quickly. And I am in a position where I will be working with people making their transitions. And so I would like some guidance about this. And his answer, death is an unreality. There is a changing, a transformation of circumstance and of configuration of consciousness. But no thing ever dies. Energy is eternal. Even the energy of the body itself does not die. It changes form, but it doesn't die. Now, as you would consider the desire to go forth into other realities and realms of dominion and dimension, know that it is in but an instant. The decision forces may be over eons or days or hours, but the actual experience is but an instant. The consciousness of your particular culture is how it is, because that is how you create it to be. So in the Eastern understanding, they have allowed the process of decision and the creation of a dramatization of what culminates before the actual transition into another dimension, to be an elongated version of timing, and the West has not. Both are valid and both are options, and both are to be experienced by what you have called your brothers, that you may share with in your future of time. Allow them to know what they wish to experience is a blessing, for it will bless them with yet another experience upon the plane of their foreverness. So there is no right or wrong, is what he's saying. Whether we let the body sit for a few days or up to 7 days, or whether we dispose of the body, I guess, right away. It depends on what the person wants to experience. Death may be likened unto your telly or your television, changing channels. The energy, when you are not focusing upon that channel, it doesn't disappear. It is simply not viewed in that moment. So in terms of moving the body, it is complete when we feel it is complete, they're asking. And he says, indeed. Actually, have you ever experienced embracing a body in rigor mortis? That is how it feels when the all that is, the eternal isness, comes forth in the desire to embrace you when you have your limitations upon how it shall be. You feel grandly stiff. I would desire to carry forth a riddle in this timing. You know, they have this grand ritual. They have the viewing of the body, and they always seem to have a chair, a seat provided near the body. Do you know what that chair or seat is for? It allows rigor mortis to set in. Question. One of the healing methods that has become really popular here is called reiki. What would you have to say about that and the debate that so many people get into as whether they will do it or won't do it, why they should or shouldn't do it? My experience is that it really works and that it is a very powerful tool. And I'm just really interested to hear what you have to say. And he says, I would suggest you take a rebate on your debate. It is not necessary to have one, The understanding of Reiki is one manner of expression of stimulation and transmutation of certain ridges of energies. That is not the only manner. There are so many manners of this as there are people. So indeed, honor those that would desire to share it and honor those that do not, all right? And the next person says, greetings. Just before the break, you used a term that I'd never heard of before, and that was oversoul. Could you explain that to me, please? And his answer is, in a limited manner of understanding unlimitedness, since we are limited on this, he's going to explain it. Oversoul is the creation of identical energy essences of all that is into the focus of a particular frequency that is emphasized, and there are 13 in this particular plane of existence. All 12 spectrums of life plus the 13th, as created of the unified whole of all the other 12. They are created on this plane from whence all your consciousness spew forth. All of you create your awareness as different forms of these particular energies. You may indeed resonate to one or the other in your particular emphasis of focus, and create certain frequency bands called personalities. But they all remerge into the sourceness of Oversoul, which are all identical unto one another. In that, it is remerged yet again, likened unto an inverted tunnel into the all that is called God I Am, original thought. An oversoul is a piece of verbiage of yours, and I was only using it for convenience in that moment. Really, there is no separation, all right? So be it. The next one, Namaste, I am. I was wondering whether there is any significance to the fact that the climate in the last few years has warmed up all over the globe. In Melbourne, we are having extreme Indian summers. Could you fill me in on that? Indeed. It is the fire energy coming forth to commune with the rest of nature, as the elements make themselves seen and heard. I will tell you this as it is seen now. It is just beyond your year 3000, and your planet will be a star. The planet will still exist, but the atoms within your atmosphere will be ignited into a fire or a brilliance. Not really a fire as you consider the element fire to be, but a brilliance, so that it is perceived as a glowing brilliance by all the other systems that are gazing upon you. In this understanding, the Earth herself will become a sun, and the solar system will evolve and unfold into a grand ball of light. It also, in millennia to come, will become a grand sun of consciousness. It will explode into a supernova, so that it is the beginning that you are feeling, the heating up. It is divine, it is to be cherished. For you are also heating up into the ultimate evaporation you call ascension, spontaneous human combustion, All right, the next one. No serious dehydration or sort of cataclysm is in store in our near future. Somebody's sort of posing this as a statement. And he says, only if you know them into existence. If I were to give unto you anything of this day of time, it is to know that the earth changes can be whatever you wish them to be. You are the creator of that epic drama, and it is not for me to tell you how you will choose to create it. Next question. Greetings, beloved. There is a place I love dearly. It is called New Zealand. You have talked about Australia and North America and Russia, and I was wondering if you would say something about New Zealand. The sea land, he asks, Saint Germain asks. It is indeed a part of the Lemurian continent as well. It is created as an understanding of separation, but it too shall merge, much as it does not desire to. He's saying it doesn't desire to merge, but it will. But it will be after your political arena has calmed a bit. It will not be discordant, for there are other parts of this area of your world that will merge as well. Other parts of the bescattered continent of Lemuria, that part of Lemuria that is still present. The reason I hesitated on that word is because there is beneath the water that which you would not call continent, but a civilization really. But I will allow that one, the word continent, for now. Question. Will we in fact see a rising up of that land and southern Australia rising up with New Zealand? And he says, New Zealand, as you call it, will be indeed giving forth of a bit more land in some areas and a bit less in others, because the waters will rise. It will begin to have an isthmus that connects Australia and it. Indeed, it will support alignment unto other areas of this your world, economically and politically. It will create quite a difference of bureaucracy upon it than what is present of your now. The peaks of the mountains of the other lands that will rise from beneath the water into lands and islands will be within your next 30 years of your time. And this comment was made in 1989. And remember, nothing is set in stone. These are simply a guideline to go off of, and it is up to us and all of our thoughts as a collective and as individuals as far as what actually does play out and when it plays out or if it plays out. All right. This is how it appears according to your now. Remember, everything is subject to change. All of these areas will have a difference in political arena compared to now. Hawaii, Indonesia, Samoa, Fiji, all of these areas, even your Japan, the land of the rising sun. Fancy it being called that, huh? We will speak about Japan later. Okay, the next question. Is there any plan for beings to incarnate on the actual Earth plane apart from visitors such as yourself, to accelerate growth through their continued presence? When all of you have draped the garment of your light body upon you, then I shall, for then and only then, shall you view me in equality, or anyone likened unto that which be I, which really is yourself, you see? I am your mirror, and in the desire of that which be I to come forth upon this plane, to experience communion and fellowship with the brothers of humanity called I am. I shall allow myself the delicious delight of hair upon the face for a change. And indeed, I shall also express as a child, as the creation of elfin and spirits and Merlin, to be sure, all of the culminations of consciousness of wizardry and wit. And I will be a reflection unto all of you, and all of you will be a reflection unto that which is I, and all of you will be a reflection unto one another, and we shall all conjoin together into an exquisite expression of I am-ness. And the songs of joy is heard and born from the breast of God realized. So be it. Question. Will you choose to be immaculately conceived, or will you come through the natural process of conception? And he says, neither. I have done this before and I shall do it again. That is, manifest a body. Do you know what that means? Voila, and I am here. And voila, I am not. And then voila, I am again. It is a very delightful experience. There is curiosity and puzzlement everywhere I go. Okay, next one. A friend of mine lost her son in an accident and has become very bitter. What happens to people who never get over that bitterness? Do they keep coming back to get rid of it? That is one thing I cannot understand. How do you ever get rid of it? You need not get rid of it. You need allow it into your experience, into your heart, and release it. Getting rid of it is would be sweeping it under your carpet, he says. You have to face it and deal with it. Nourish it into its own divinity. Allow it to be for its own reasons. And the next one. I understand what you are saying, but when it is happening to you at the time that it is happening, there are many people who take that bitterness to their graves. And he says, of course they do. That is their choice. And in that choice, they have learned. They have learned what it is like to carry that bitterness with them for a lifetime. What it is like to have that occur, to have manifested that for themselves and to not allow it. It is a grand lesson of itself. When they manifest it for themselves again at a soul level, they will consider what it was like before and consider a different alternative, perhaps if they choose to. It is likely that in that particular circumstance, it need not be the next lifetime. Perhaps it is merely like an incident within that lifetime. There is an alternative solution, and your soul allows you that knowledge. Your conscious mind is that of a storm. It is not easy to penetrate. However, your soul has garnished the wisdom from the experience of bitterness. Now it is time to experience something else. Question. Do you know what each and every one of us here on this planet has to deal with, for what lessons or main purpose we are here for? And he says, you see, my dear, realization of divinity is also the realization for each and every one of you that you have free will, free choice. You are here merely to gain enlightenment for yourselves in one way or another. In other words, to call back to your light being, to your source, to be all in all, if you will. To be the creative force that will create your universes and your stars and anything you desire. However you desire on your daily basis to manifest your enlightenment, that is your choice. It is not another's right to decide for you or to predict for you, for that matter. It is your own right to decide and predict for yourself. And you make those choices in every moment of your time. Even in your slumber, you make these choices. Question. Will there ever be a time of total peace on this earth where everybody here feels total peace? Humanity will experience what you consider total peace. It will not necessarily be on this third density earth. It will be on earth. The earth will be different, fourth density. However, there will be total peace and unified sovereignty. And somebody says, speak to us of education. My sister, education in your limited terms is synonymous for the word wisdom. However, your wisdom comes not to you from your books, from your scripted paper, from your institutions, not even from your teachers. Your education or wisdom, which is a far grander word for it, comes to you through your unlimited God self. Allowance of the knowledge to come through you to your consciousness, through your conscious mind, as you call it, and acceptance of it so that you may utilize it in your outer world. Teachers and institutions and the pages thereof are merely the reflections of the wisdom of others. You may learn from it. That is very true. You learn far grander lessons and wisdom from yourself. Your educational systems in this society on your planet are, of course, serving a purpose, but they will come to a mass change here very soon in your time, for the boundaries will be broken. There will be no grade system, as you term it to be, nor will there be different divisions among your students. All will be equal. It is part of the shift that is necessary for superconsciousness to occur, much as your governmental shifts and all the shifts upon your planet, internal and external. For your externality is merely yourself reflected back at you. The shifts that are occurring within yourself as well, and it is merely on another scale that you see it reflected in your society. And the next question, are these changes gradual or are they abrupt? They will be gradual in your terminology. In the history of your earth, however, considering it has been here for eons, it will be rather abrupt. It is relative, but it will be part of the unleashing of the sovereignty of each individual. It will be grand not to have your restrictions. The next question, how are we to prepare the children of today the way they are being taught? They will help prepare you. You will allow them into unlimitedness. You best do that by realizing everyone's unlimited self, yourself and theirs. How do we go about discovering that we are God, someone asks. First of all, look at yourself and consider the divine creation you truly are. Your flesh, your bones, the eyes within you. All life is grand. Your sands upon your shores, your clouds in your skies. All is life and all is grand. But all does not have the cognition you do. You yourself are a wondrous work of art. Consider that. Consider that you do create your own life circumstances, and who else but a manifesting God could do all the wondrous things you have done in your lifespan this time around? What games are we playing that we do not realize? Why is it so difficult for mankind to realize this? Because humanity has a conscious mind it is battling with at this time in your history. It is a war. It will resolve itself in time as you perceive time to be. It is limitation for a purpose. The purpose is self-realization, realization of your divinity, your God self. You place upon yourself these limitations in order to realize that you can, as a manifesting entity, overcome it. Those entities that have experiences of mass catastrophes in their life, and they overcome and overcome and overcome, are merely pulling to themselves the knowledge of who they are. They will realize it much sooner than the individual who has a rather tranquil lifetime. However, these limitations in your mass consciousness are dissolving, for all the entities on your earth plane upon this planet are desirous of realizing their divinity at a soul level, and some consciously. It is dissolving before your very eyes. It is not to concern yourself over, merely because it is all part of life on this earth plane, part of a grand design. All is as it should be. How important is it to have a knowledge of our past lives in order to shed some knowledge or purpose, or to help us reach enlightenment in this incarnation, someone asks. Let me see what I have left here. Okay. It is only as important as you feel it is. In reality, in the overall picture, it is not important at all. However, if you feel earnestly that it is, then it is. Realize also that each moment is magnificent in and of itself, for there is nothing but now. Realizing whatever it is in what you term to be your past is realizing yourself into your divinity and your light. Hanging on to it as a crutch merely cripples you. You need not be in your ritualistic poses or have your incense burning. It is all right, but it is not necessary. You may simply walk beside the water or sit beneath your pine trees in a quiet place. For the quiet reflected outside is reflected of the quiet inside. Quiet in your soul and listen. Listen. Many times we turn a deaf ear to what our soul is attempting to tell us. It is knocking and we do not hear. We choose not to hear. We hear only what we wish. I am a little confused about free will. People go for readings and they are told that certain things will happen in their lives, and they do happen. Is this something that is predetermined at soul level, or can one change that based on the fact that we have free will? The entity may, of course, change anything with free will. What is told to them, they believe. Their belief believed it into existence. You see? If you are told you are going to die and you believe it with all your heart and soul, then you will die. But it is your choice not to. You see, if you believe something so fearful, it manifests itself for you. That is part of the manifesting process. Those entities that are speaking to them, giving them the information for which they ask, are in a limited understanding. Although they are providing a service, that is true. There is nothing wrong with what they are doing. They simply have not realized that all have the power to change anything at any time. Seers or prophets, they are all divine beings. They are grandly loved, but all have that capacity. It is not a gift that is select for a few chosen ones. All have that capacity, including yourself. You merely tune in and you will see what they see. And if you do not desire that particular circumstance consciously, then you change it. Many of the things that I have said that are likely to happen are likely at that point in your time. However, anything can happen. I understand your confusion. I think he's seeing some confusion in the audience. If you change your thoughts, you can change, someone's asking. He says, not your thoughts. Your thoughts, as what you term thought to be, is your mind, which is limited. Thought is divine indeed. It is a creative force. But the thought you speak of is your mind, and you have to change what your heart desires. You may say, I desire not to be sick, but in your inner self, that illness affords you whatever it is you would desire. Your love, your security, whatever. The ones around you pity you, and occasionally that is what you desire, which is all right. But you have to understand the difference between what your mind would tell you that you want and what your heart tells you you want. So it is more a belief system, someone's asking. Know is a better word than believe. So to know. If you know it to be so, if you know that that is what you wish, then it is so. And he says, thank you. Or she says, thank you. And he says, thank you, my sister. You see, releasing limitations is the main lesson we are all here for. Any limitation, physical, emotional, intellectual, any limitation. No need for rituals, no need for dogma, no need for giving your power away to someone else, for you are all powerful masters, all of us. Such a grand light, we could light the universes if you but knew who you are. So you do not have to try and figure out who you were or what your purpose is. Of course, my sister, you are learning grandly. That is the message your man Jesus came to teach in meekness and humility. It is merely the realization of all others' divinity as well as your own, but there is no better or worse. Why is there so much confusion around Jesus? Someone asks. He is misinterpreted because those that came after him were frightened of his message in their limited thinking, and it changed to some extent his message, and that is what is written in your books. Some is not changed and some is. But then he could have controlled that, someone says. We do not interfere with human free will. You see, when they realized how divine he was after his ascension, they were in awe of him, of his message that all could be as he was. And because of that, your leaders, the political leaders at that time of the church, the priests, felt in order to control the people and have an orderly government, it was necessary to keep the people unenlightened of their own manifesting capacity. That is why the Essenes were disbanded. That is why their mystical wisdom has been hidden all these years. Some of it appeared in your Dead Sea Scrolls, but some of the messages were coded, and the codes have not been broken. Is there a message for humanity in the Great Pyramid? There is a message for humanity indeed, for that particular pyramid was manifested by beings not of your earth, and they were informing those that were curious enough, who were of the consciousness that could accept the message without distortion, that they indeed are enlightened beings and have the capacity for manifesting, that they themselves could build the pyramids. You see, the message of the pyramids is the wisdom of how to build it, for how to build it is by being divine. Those divine beings that came to your planet to build it left it here for the unveiling when the time was proper. The time is nigh. What about the pyramid right now? Should they be disturbing it? What is there to disturb? The wisdom is already apparent. It is already in your hieroglyphs, and pictures have been made of them. It is not necessary to concern yourself, for the tunneling is not destructive. It will lead only to those corridors that will be revealing, unveiling. So that will happen soon, someone asks. It is likely. The king's chamber has many of its pearls of wisdom, its emeralds that will speak to the hearts of those that find them. There will be a mystical unveiling, and even your newscasters will know about it. Has Lord Maitra anything to do with this? There is an aspect of that entity. However, that particular entity is of a certain energy force that it would not be possible to concentrate all that energy into one body. Maitreya was the entity that overshone the man Jesus with all his wisdom. That was the entity who Jesus channeled. That particular entity was the Krishna and Jesus, was with Krishna and Jesus. What about Sai Baba? A grand entity indeed. He is one of the entities on your earth plane in your current time that is desirous of doing what your Jesus did in a manner. Demonstration of being in more than one place at a time and manifesting before one's eyes all the miracles. But then the pictures of him, somebody says. And he says he desires it not much as your Jesus did not. That is their choice to give their power away. It is my message and many of the other masters' message not to give your power away. It is only to reveal yourself, not someone else. The entity Maitreya was the entity your master Jesus spoke with and channeled during his incarnation on earth. Who is Sananda, someone asks. Sananda is the grander self of your Jesus. Sananda is from the same plane as I. Jesus, in order to be born into this earth, was of fourth density. Is it true that our bodies are changing from second to third density? Third to fourth, he says. Third density is gross matter animated with the spirit residing within, full of all the choices that any divine God has. However, it is also inclusive of a limited consciousness. Fourth density is God-man with unlimited consciousness. Are there any densities beyond that, someone says? Of course, they are non-physical, however. So after fourth is not physical, somebody says? Of course, that is where Jesus went beyond. I find that very interesting because I see a lot of, I'm not going to say so-called, but I see a lot of these new age teachers on mainstream media, or not mainstream media, on social media like Instagram and just all over, that are claiming they've ascended to the fifth dimension or to fifth density. And I wonder what is behind that, because they are still physically here, and what Saint Germain is saying, and from what I've understood from reading other things like this, you're not physical beyond that point. So I know there's that, I know there's the saying that has come to, that other prophets has said, to be careful of false prophets. And I do believe there are a lot of those out there today. But who knows? I mean, as he's saying here, I don't know if this is changeable, but many other things that he said is absolutely changeable because of us. I don't know if this would be one of them. Being physical, even though you're at fifth density, who knows? So we are going into fourth density, someone asks. That is the transition of what you call New Age, Aquarian Age. Jesus was the herald of the Piscean Age. The Aquarian age is now being heralded in, and fourth density is becoming more prevalent upon this earth plane. Does that mean more people will be in that fourth density? Indeed it does. And when your Mother Earth ascends herself, all will be in fourth density or above. And somebody says, what does that mean when the Earth ascends? Your Earth will change frequency, much as the entities upon Earth and within Earth will change their frequency. For ascension is merely a change in frequency. You do not perceive the body because it is a different frequency. It is the non-physical in your terms because you do not see it from the viewpoint of third density. And when this occurs, you will have another parallel planet. You will have this third density Earth and a fourth density Earth. Your fourth density Earth will be what you have called in your history your heaven, for it is of a different frequency, and those entities upon it are enlightened. They are divine, manifesting as they choose in unity and harmony with the universe. The Earth continues. Both Earths continue. The entities upon this Earth, this third density Earth, who decide for their own reasons not to become enlightened, at least not now in your time, will remain upon this Earth and have further incarnations until they have experienced what they desire to experience and have learned the lessons they would desire to learn. Not that they have to learn, what they desire to learn. This Earth will remain. There is another Earth. It is also in existence, and it is fourth density, and those upon it and within it are also fourth and above. We could have a world, another Earth, someone says. Of course, it is a different frequency, and you as a third density entity would not perceive it, for it is of a different frequency. Sorry, these words are kind of hard to repeat. And someone asks, but you can perceive it. And he says, not in this third density body, but you can in fourth. And he says, indeed, much as the spectrum of light you call ultraviolet, it exists, but you cannot see it. But why would we not all choose that? Somebody wants to know. And he says, there are some entities upon this earth who desire to remain in their dogmatic, limited experience. But why would we choose that when we know? Not all are consciously aware, he says, nor do they desire to be. Why? Ask them. It is their choice. But if they do not even know that their higher consciousness exists, so they kind of trail off, and then he says, they do at a soul level. You see, the choice is always done at a soul level for all entities, regardless of how limited they seem to be. Their conscious mind, however, is that which is limited, and it is for them as an entire entity to decide whether they desire to open themselves to enlightenment. In other words, to partake of wisdom in this manner or another manner, or to remain closed. It is up to them, and there is no right or wrong, for they are learning grand lessons in their own manner. My question is, how is it in a marriage? One becomes enlightened and one does not. What happens in that circumstance? Would one who is more enlightened not rub off on the other person? That is what you call a mirror, and it does occur, if you would call it rub off. You see, when enlightenment is made available to an individual, their conscious mind is then aware, and then they may consciously decide to partake or not to partake. Their choice is being offered to them on a silver platter. If they decide not to, that is all right. For who is to say they will not decide it at a later time? Once a particular fragment or aspect of your soul group is moving into the light, it is a natural happening for the rest of that group to be drawn to it. It is as though it were a magnet, and it pulls the other aspects toward the light. Is that what they call harvest? And he says, in many references, your harvest is your fourth density transformation, your ascension. Some would call it rapture. Then that is going to happen soon, someone says. What is soon? Indeed, however, release your time limitations. Watching your clock will keep you unenlightened forever. Let go of your time. If it is later than that, so what? For you are here for all eternity. It matters not what time it is. But that is a hard concept for us to comprehend. I mean, I can remember when I was a little girl trying to figure out how long eternity was. And we had nothing to measure it by because on this plane, we are born, we live, and then we die. So the only thing that we know of is that limited time frame. And thinking of eternity just boggles the mind. Things go on and on forever, or they constantly are. That is a concept that is difficult for us on this plane. And he says, it is an exercise for a limited mind in unlimitedness. You may tread that mill over and over again, and your limited mind merely becomes exhausted. For unlimitedness is inconceivable. If it were conceivable, it would not be unlimited. I wanted to ask something about manifestation and to request it of my grander self. Any special way of requesting it that works best? And he says, when you are quiet, whether in meditation or slumber or merely simply quiet with yourself, call to yourself, your manifesting Godhood. Command forth its presence. Give to it your desires. Affirm to it that it already exists. Your conscious mind will argue with you on that one, but there is no time differentiation in the grander picture between asking for it and receiving it, for there is no time. So in the grander sense, it already is. Request of it the desires from your heart. Emotion is grandly indicated. Know it into being. Know it is so. And your oversoul, your grander self, that part of you that is an aspect of the source, will pacify you and manifest for you, for your limited self, that is. And they're asking, so do you say this out loud? And he says it doesn't matter. If you feel more in command verbalizing it, that's okay. And then your grander self will say, see, I told you so. You can do it. And your conscious mind will have received the proof it desires all the time, and you will allow the door to open a bit, and it will become easier. What better method could we use to hold our mind steady? And he says, why not try relaxing, holding one's self rigid in tension? Relax into the joy of the moment, knowing that all moments are of the light. For all moments in your existence are a part of you, and you are a part of the light. So naturally, it would follow that they are also. Release your tension and aggravation, the part of you that is rigid, that you think must be regulated or controlled. For what is it that water does? It is unlimited. It forms to that which holds it. It splashes and gives joy. It rejoices constantly, even in its storms. It is a divine life form. It is a divine life form. You may take your lessons from your water. It is a fluid, not rigid. Saint Germain, when Jesus said, whenever you ask in my name, did he mean the higher self? In my name indeed, so capital M-Y. That was, of course, the Christ consciousness that was speaking, your higher self. In super consciousness is the Christ consciousness. And he says, and also this, when you pray, when you ask for something and believe that you have whatever it is, then you will be given whatever it is. And he says, ask and ye shall receive, knock and the door will be opened. What happens when you want something or you think that you want something, yet your consciousness keeps throwing up barriers to the fact that you really do not want it? And he says, that is the war with yourself, your alter ego. That is what your Bible has termed the devil. It is not an evil. It is merely part of your divine self, your alter ego. That part of the ego that is within each and every entity. Your man Jesus also had an alter ego that was part of his divine self. However, he allowed it into its own divinity, in love, in unconditional love. And when one is allowed in unconditional love, one succumbs, as you might term it. It is not desirous of overpowering, for it is loved. You see, it is a part of yourself that is arguing with yourself with the ego of divine self. And they will debate back and forth. It matters not who wins. It matters not who wins the battle during each occurrence. For your divine self will, in utter enlightenment, reign supreme. You see, it is not about who wins, but how the game was played. By playing the game, by allowing an unconditional love, you win anyway, and you are enlightened. Then, once you are accepting the totality of all unconditionally, even your arguing alter ego, love it. Love it as part of your divine self, and it will resist no more. Okay. So we will stop there, and when we finish up this this last chapter, it's just going to be, yeah, I just read exactly, I had to break it up in fourths because it was just so much. Over 50 pages, and I want to say well over 100 questions, which is amazing. It's just amazing things that we're learning here. Things that we probably wouldn't have access to anywhere else, which is really fantastic. If you're open-minded to it and willing to learn more about it, everyone's in a different place, and that's totally fine. So we'll go ahead and just end it right there, and we will read the last part in our next video, and then we will be all finished reading the book. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. I love and appreciate you all, and please take care of yourself. Please take care of those around you. I will see you again for our last segment in this book. All right? Take care until then. Bye-bye.